What's up, guys? I'm out on the balcony right now of my apartment in LA. It's a good thing. So, kind of getting some downloads lately. Me going through my own personal stuff. And, a lot having to do with like unconditional love for the self. I was speaking to this person who, I loved dearly, and maybe I love dearly still. But it was at the detriment of, kind of borderline being unhealthy for myself. A stark, red flag of an example of that being, if I'm in a great place and I feel like I'm, zooming and booming and running and gunning, and for example, I get that person on the phone and it just feels like a void or an emptiness or whatever. And our relationship was always that of like, back and forth. And typical to, me and my, forlorn poetic self, longing for that significant other love, twin flame, soulmate type energy. That's a deadly thing to get caught into. I feel like that's where like depression emanates from, and it's kind of like some sort of like societal induced detachment of the self. Been writing a lot of poetry lately. If you see posted on my Instagram, Running Gun Tarot, spelled with an N gun, running gun, and it was talking a lot about like the divine, holy trinity of self, the divine, child self, infant self, divine masculine father, divine feminine mother. And I think we all have that inside of ourselves. But you could get detached from it on your journey. And I think that's where you fall into that dangerous territory, or where you can fall into that dangerous territory of kind of outsourcing that love that you deserve from self to self. You fall into the dangerous territory of waiting on someone else to reciprocate that to something that you could have been giving yourself this whole time. And then you could easily fall into the trap of thinking that, it's because you're not enough, or maybe they don't see something in you. It might not have anything to do with you. It could just be an objective, just not attraction to that level, whatever that may be, And excuse me. And it's just an interesting part of the journey. It's an interesting lesson on the journey in the dynamic of, relation to the self or relation to others, and I know me, myself, for the longest time, I've kind of been caught in that, energy. But when you finally get out of it, and, you kind of realize, like, holy shit, I've been here for myself. I've been my best friend this whole time, and therefore I've never been alone. I've become conscientious of that whole, giving love to the self, rerouting that pipeline, as I call it, from, an external source where you're stuck in the sadness of not having it reciprocated, and literally rerouting that to yourself and giving it to yourself and making it a training program to rewire your brain with. That's what I get. It's like, and that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm down for. If we're talking about like this new, woke woo-woo era generation of like self-love, like that real self-love, that real understanding of your layers and layers of being an onion, and your depths of, the first form you took was that out of birth, and you just being this entity to receive love unconditionally, and then maybe to give love unconditionally, until that's somehow, perverted or something by society, or, we have to naturally form layers upon layers of that vulnerability, over that vulnerability, like the layers of an onion. But I think the toxic angle or aspect of that metaphor of what we do coming into full form adulthood is losing touch with that divine self, that divine inner child that's always there wanting to, love and be loved and receive love and all that good stuff. So, you almost gotta feed and water that seed. And, you gotta give yourself that love, and, you can't forget about that. And I think you fall into tricky territory with, if you're an empath or empathic, and your natural inclination is to give. The Cancer signs especially, and I think we got a Cancer new moon. I'm a Cancerian moon myself, and I'm a cardinal sign Aries sun sign, cardinal sign Cancerian moon sign. So those cardinal signs, you try to tend to others first, and that leaves you depleted essentially. And the whole relationship dynamic is always that of giving. But essentially, in certain instances, you kind of set yourself up for complete self-sacrifice, and to the telephone pole that doesn't even comprehend the same league that you're playing in, so to speak. Unsolicited, unconditional love. So therefore I do, kind of find myself coming to this realization and the understanding of rerouting that outward, love, form of love, and rerouting it to the self. And whatever that does to us as creatures, or, perceives, worth of self and, value, some sort of, looking for an estimate of self-worth and how we give value I would characterize value socially, um, whether it be celebrity or, being that, empathic that just loves and never receives, or being that narcissist that just takes and just doesn't give back until they have to experience a tower moment to learn a lesson. But that goes both ways, as empathic, you can't be a martyr and expect to not be nailed to a cross, basically, or something like that. So yeah, I think it's just super valuable food for thought. And, I'm watching a lot of old time Hollywood movies, and I was actually watching Breakfast at Tiffany's with Audrey Hepburn, believe it or not, and there's one scene where she's at Tiffany's and the diamond salesman was given a Cracker Jack ring by the male lead, who was running around with Holly's character, Audrey Hepburn's character, and Holly Golightly and he was trying to have this ring engraved at Tiffany, Cracker Jack box ring, and the ring salesman was like, it's good to know that they still sell these Cracker Jack prizes these prizes in the bottom of a Cracker Jack box, and he says it gives you some sort of solidarity and a sense of continuity with the past. And I just found that super ironic, because it's kind of like that's what that movie serves as, for people, in 2020 looking back and watching a movie from 1961 or something. That's what the past does for us. It helps gives us some sort of continuity or solidarity with, the past, and we come from something and we belong to something, and it's kind of like touching on our own personal mythos, our mythology, and that's always cool, because it gives you that continuity, that rhyme and reason, that connection between worlds, and that's pretty cool. And I think in a way that also kind of connects and has to do with the whole you're not alone in this world. You are on a journey that many others have been through, this journey called life. And it's good for time and again to step back and kind of see that that's all it is at the end of the day. It's just life. So, and I mean that in the best way possible. It's worth leading, it's worth living, it's worth learning to keep on going, And no one's worth, you putting yourself out for. And I kind of get that movie kind of teaches that lesson too, that Breakfast at Tiffany's movie, believe it or not. Excuse me, because this whole time this girl's running around, and she's kind of playing all these dudes and, leading people on and breaking hearts and stuff. And, she's a self-admitted, in the deepest corners of, her own shadow work. She's a self-admitted nobody slob with no name. And she uses those words. And, the guy that's vying for her this whole time was like, you're this free spirit, and you're afraid that loving someone will put you in a cage. Well, guess what? And, like, no matter where you run to or where you travel to, this is based on New York. She was trying to marry some Brazilian millionaire. He's like, no matter where you go, you're going to be in that cage, in that prison of yourself that you've created for yourself. This idea that you can't love someone or belong to anyone or anything, that's created a cage for yourself in this paradoxical way. So, in a way, her kind of, choosing to love him sets herself free from that cage. It's real freedom, I guess. Paradoxically, ironically. But, yeah, that being said, it's a very strong lesson. Because, that is a Hollywood movie, and, we're playing for keeps here in this real world. And there's a lot of people that end it all because a relationship doesn't work out or something like that. And they have a condition or a standard that's never met on their love and acceptance of self or what have you. But, we're all the same in that, we once were infants that were truly vulnerable and unconditional. It required something. And it's, needed to kind of stick with that remembrance and stay connected to that little bugger. And parent the self and all that good stuff. I think that's a part of this whole journey. Oop. Let's drop these cards. This balcony, this floor isn't plumb against this wall here, so I'm kind of worried if I ever drop one of these cards, it'll just fall under on the other side. I have to go downstairs and all the way in the back of this apartment complex to get it. That's neither here nor there. Alright, let's see if Spirit has any messages for us. Going on in 18 minutes. Two of Pentacles in the reverse. Something's out of balance. But at any given moment, you have the ability to balance it out. Balance it out for yourself, I would think. I think that's possible. Okay, maybe with the King of Wands, Cancer, Leo, Sag, Aries. If you're not in league with anybody else, you could read this as an internalization of where you're at. I think that Two of Pentacles in the reverse is right up the alley of everything that we're talking about here, though, with that imbalance. Because at any given moment, I think you're able to balance yourself out internally. Even if you are that empathic, giving too much, or if you are that narcissist, taking too much and not returning, reciprocating. King of Wands could be you perceiving someone as a King of Wands, putting someone on some sort of pedestal, but if their energy is keeping your energy out of whack or out of balance. You might want to distance yourself from them. Yeah, there's some Sag energy right there with that Eight of Wands. I think when you do distance yourself from that energy that's probably taking up resource and all that stuff, and psychically even, other dimensional forms of resource, and it's gonna able to open up your world for you, the world that you want. And it's pretty cool. It's actually quite romantic. So, Strength card, new beginnings, having mastered those tendencies of self, those habituations of self. To maybe, keep on returning to somebody who's keeping you out of whack. Toxic relationship. I wouldn't be surprised if the devil card popped out. See the chariot. Chariot's incoming rushing energy. So I see maybe that, optimistically speaking, you can read it as, if, it's like you're taking your power back, Like no one could, it's like no one has agency or sovereignty over yourself anymore. It's like you're not in that vulnerable entity position anymore. It's like if you take a hit of acid and then you surround yourself with, commercials saying to join the Marines or something. Maybe you're in like a vulnerable spot, and someone could get in your kitchen, proverbially, get in your head. It's like, don't allow people to do that. Don't allow people that sovereignty over you. No one's worth that, but you're worth it. You're worth your own, sovereignty and agency, and conducting your wholeness of self and mind and all that stuff. So, yeah, because I think self-admittedly, I've been on that journey as well. I think somewhere along the line I lost myself, and, kind of like on that odyssey back to the self. And then you could kind of psychoanalyze and figure out how and why and where it occurred. But I think you'll find that you've always been there in some way, shape, or form. It's just maybe you constructed boundaries around it. Or maybe you kind of internalized, embodied some sort of societal alienation of some sort of vulnerable infant self. So, but as soon as you realize that that's who you are all along, and that's who everybody is all along, and you can kind of go anywhere or do anything or be anyone, because you just love yourself anyways, unconditionally. Yeah, and then maybe you're ready for a real offer with that Knight of Cups. But anyways, Spirit, closing card for the good people out there in La La Land. Page of Wands energy, young, enthusiastic energy. All that good stuff. Coming out of this, it's really good. And Nine of Swords is like that sleepless nights, staying up, overthinking, why won't this person do that? Why won't this person do this? And really, it's kind of just that divine child in the self that you need to pacify. You need to provide yourself with that emotional solace. That's what that Ace of Cups is. Just trying to find a good one to end on, but I think that Ace of Cups is good enough. So, alright guys, feel free to like, share, follow across all social media platforms. If you want a direct one-on-one read, link below, runningguntarot.com. Holler at your boy. Peace.